7.4 for about 5 or 6 days. The next homework, I'm not going to pass out yet because you're not ready to even attempt to do it. I want us to practice with it a little bit before I give you the worksheet. All right, the next 3 homeworks are all worksheets. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to start off with simplifying. There's 2 different types of problems. Simplify. Whenever it says simplify, that means we don't know the end. So I don't know the destination I'm trying to get to. I just keep making turns until I get to a dead end. All right, that's why simplifying can be a little harder. All right, so let's look at this first one. So we got tangent times cotangent. So we know that cotangent is the same thing as 1 over tangent. Would you agree? All right. So that's why when we multiply them together, since they're reciprocals, that is why my answer is just 1. Anytime you multiply two trig identities that are reciprocals, you get 1. So that's something to keep in mind. When we look at number 2, so this is what I mean by separating the fraction. So I'm going to write it as cotangent divided by cosecant. All right, now that I separated the fraction, I want you to rewrite this in terms of sine and cosine. What is cotangent in terms of sine and cosine? Robin.
Cosine over sine.
Yep, so I'm going to rewrite this as the cosine of theta divided by the sine of theta. All right, what is cosecant in terms of sine and cosine? Who's the sister to cosecant? Sine. So that means that this is 1 over sine. So we're dividing 2 fractions. And what do we know about dividing 2 fractions? We have to do our keep, change, flip. Let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to stay cosine over sine times sine over 1. And now we're getting close to where we can't do anything else, but we can do one more thing. When I'm multiplying 2 fractions and the numerator and the denominator are the same, what happens? They cancel. And what am I left with? Just cosine. Now I'm at my dead end. See, again, that's the hard part, is we don't know where we're trying to go. We just keep making turns until we run out of things that we can do. And that's all we can do. All right, number 3 should be pretty easy because hopefully I want you to get to the point where when you see this, you automatically see the identity. What is sine squared plus cosine squared equal to? If you don't remember, look at your helpful hints. You just wrote it. Number 3, look at your notes. Let me go back. Let me go back to the top. This is one of the most important identities. What is sine squared plus cosine? And it could be switched. It could be cosine squared plus sine squared or sine squared plus cosine squared. What does that always equal? 1. So this numerator is going to change to a 1. And it's 1 over cosine. Now, when we are making our turns, we try not to leave a fraction. So instead of leaving this as 1 over cosine, how can I write this so that it's not a fraction? What is 1 over cosine equal to? Look at your pink sheet. I mean, we should know because, like, it's the sisters, right? So what is 1 over cosine? Secant. And now I'm done. Again, we just keep making moves until we run out of things we can do. Any questions about our first 3? All right, let's go to number 4. All right. So we got sine x plus tangent x divided by 1 over secant x. So again, let's start off with our numerator. Let's only start with the numerator. Let's work with this first. Now, what does tangent equal? Somebody besides Robin. What does tangent equal? Do we agree? Sine over cosine. Who thinks it's sine over cosine? So I'm going to write this as sine x. I'm going to put this as a fraction. Plus sine over cosine. Okay. So now we are adding fractions. Oh boy. What do we need to have in order to add fractions? A common denominator. So what is somebody at the door? Oh, hi. Oh, that's okay. We need to have a common denominator. Hey, you need me? Oh, just popping in. All right, so what am I multiplying this fraction by to get my common denominator? Because this one has a cosine and this one doesn't. So I'm going to multiply this one only by cosine. Okay, so when you do that, I'm going to write what you see going across. So I'm going to write cosine x sine x plus sine x. And that's all over my denominator, which is cosine x. All right, I'm going to leave that right there. We could do something else, but we'll just leave it there for now. So now let's start working with our denominator. Our denominator is 1 plus secant. So again, secant is 1 over cosine. So we have to do the same thing. We have to multiply this fraction by cosine. So that's going to give me cosine x plus 1 all over cosine. And these two fractions are being divided. Okay, how do we divide fractions? Keep, change, flip. Let's do it. Keep, change, flip. Okay. So this is where this gets a little icy. There is a couple things that I can do at this point. But what's one thing that you see we can do? Aisha, do you see anything we could do? Yeah, we can cancel. Let's cancel our cosines. Let's do that. So now I'm going to write it as one fraction. So it would be, I'm going to come over here because I'm kind of running out of space. So, all right, so I'm going to write this as cosine. Telling you, I'm going to make sure I don't leave my pen at home tomorrow. Hopefully it works good. Because this little thing is not good. All right, so that's what I have in the numerator. All right, so this is where a lot of us went wrong yesterday on the test, because there's an algebra skill that we need to look at. In the numerator, we can factor something out. There is a greatest common factor. I'm going to put a 1 right here. What do you notice? Hold on. plus, and then there is an invisible 1 times the sine x. All right, what do you notice? What does both of those terms have in common? A sine. So we're going to take this out. And when I factor out the sine, that's coming out. What do I have left inside of the parentheses? Cosine x plus 1. So we factored out the sine, and now I have cosine x plus 1. And that's all over cosine x plus 1. So again, we just keep making turns until we run out of things we can do. Now something else is going to go away because this is a group. This is a factor. They can both go away. So my final answer, my dead end, is sine. So that's why it's really important that you're able to recognize, especially how to change things from change things in terms of sine and cosine. All right, let's look at number 5. Same thing. I'm going to separate it. Let's separate it out. Numerator. Go ahead and rewrite this in terms of sine and cosine. And again, this does not equal 1 because I'm not multiplying them. I am adding. That's not the same thing. So let's go ahead and rewrite this. This is going to be sine over cosine plus cosine over sine. So before we continue, let's go back to the 5th grade or 6th grade or something like that. Let's just pretend for a second that this was my problem. 2 over 3 plus 3 over 2. What would be my common denominator for this? So what would I have to multiply this fraction by? 2. And what would I have to multiply this fraction by? 3. We're doing the exact same thing. I'm multiplying this fraction top and bottom by sine, and this fraction top and bottom by cosine. Because you have to get a common denominator. So when you multiply two things that are the same, sine times sine is going to be sine squared. And cosine times cosine is going to be cosine squared. And that's all over my denominator, which is a sine times a cosine. Okay. Hopefully you see what my next step is. Hopefully. What do you notice? What do I have that I can substitute? There is an identity in that question. The same identity we're going to talk about a lot. 1. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So this is going to change to 1 over, I'm going to write it over here so this becomes 1 over sine cosine. All right, so now let's start working with our denominator. The denominator is just cosecant squared. There is not much I can do with that denominator except write it as 1 over what? What is cosecant squared? 1 over what squared? It is, but I don't know why we're struggling. We've been talking about this forever. Who is the sister to cosecant? What's the problem here? Yeah, so this is going to become 1 over sine squared. So what I have is oops, I have 1 over sine cosine divided by 1 over sine squared. And sorry, that got a little messy. Actually, I'm going to bring that up a little bit so I have some space. So I have 1 over sine cosine divided by 1 over sine squared. All right, we got 2 fractions, so what do we have to do? Keep, change, flip. Go ahead and do it. Okay, sine squared is the same thing as sine sine. Would you agree? So I'm just going to write that as sine sine. So what's going to happen is a sine is going to cancel out in the top and bottom, which is going to leave me with sine over cosine. And remember, we try not to leave fractions. What is sine divided by cosine? Tangent. And that would be my final. Now I'm at a dead end. I can't go any further. So again, 7/4 is, it's a little challenging because you have to remember the rules for adding fractions, subtracting fractions, multiplying fractions, common denominators, GCFs. It's like all of that is coming together. All right, number 6. Number 6 is the big one. That's why I tried to give you a lot of space. So again, we need a common denominator. I'm just going to rewrite it really quickly just for myself because that number is in my way. So what I'm going to do, because these are not the same, they're not the same, I'm going to multiply this fraction by 1 plus cosine and this fraction by 1 minus cosine. Okay, and I'm doing that top and bottom. I just didn't write it at the bottom. So what that's going to give me across the top is 1 times 1 plus cosine x plus 1 times 1 minus cosine x. And that's divided by 1 minus cosine and 1 plus cosine. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to recognize what you get when you multiply these. Does anybody know without making a box? Anybody know what this is going to equal? Because it's a pattern that we use a lot in algebra. All right, make a box. Go ahead. I'm just going to put 1 plus c, 1 minus c. Go ahead and multiply this together. See what you get in your denominator when you multiply 1 plus cosine times 1 minus cosine. I just put 1 plus c and 1 minus c. Go ahead, fill in your squares. I'm sure somebody does know the pattern without making a box, but I know 6th period, y'all kind of shy. That's okay. Make your box, fill in your squares. you should get a 1, a C, a minus C. All right, what's going to be in this square? What's negative C times positive C? Negative C squared. Good. So would you agree that these go away? So I'm left with 1 minus C squared, which is 1 minus cosine squared. So that's what I have in my denominator. All right, now let's go ahead and distribute. Distribute the 1. That's going to give you 1 plus cosine x. Distribute this 1. That's going to give you 1 minus cosine x. All right, so now I'm going to pause here. A couple of things are going to happen at this stage. Let's start off with the top. What do you notice? What can I cross out? Does everybody notice how these are opposite? It's like saying positive x and a minus x. So they cancel out, right? So that goes away. And I'm left with 1 plus 1, which is a 2. All right, now the denominator. You should know this from yesterday. I'm not really confident, but who remembers what 1 minus cosine squared equals? Sine squared. It should have been one of the ones you wrote in the top. So remember I said we try not to leave a fraction. Okay, we try not to leave a fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this from downstairs to upstairs. But whenever you do that, it changes to the sister. So if sine squared is downstairs, that means when it comes upstairs, it's going to change to what? Cosecant squared. So my final answer would be 2 cosecant squared. That's as far as I can go. I hit my dead end. That's the hard part about simplifying. We don't know where we're trying to go. We just have to keep making moves, recognizing identities until we run out of stuff. All right, we're only going to do one more and then we'll end there for today. And in a little early. So now let's talk about verifying. So the only helpful hint I have is that you're only changing one side. But I do think verifying is a little easier because at least I know where I'm trying to go. So I know I am trying to get to secant. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to try to do this one on your own. This is a very basic one. Change this in terms of sine and cosine. Change this in terms of sine and cosine. Cancel. So try to do that one by yourself. That's one of the easy ones. So you have to show me how that's going to equal secant. So change cosecant in terms of sine and cosine, and tangent in terms of sine and cosine. There you go. That's it. This is being multiplied, not added. So there's no plus sign. Then cosecant doesn't equal cosine cosine. What's cosecant equal? One of the easier ones. I was kind of debating if I should start with verifying, because verifying you know the answer and simplifying you don't. I don't really know which one is easier to start with. What did you change cosecant to? Cosecant became what? 1 over sine. And what did tangent change to? So this is what I would have to see. And then we know these can go away, right? Because they're multiplied. When you're multiplying, you don't need a common denominator. So then that's going to leave me with 1 over cosine, which is actually a secant. All right, we're going to pick up on number 2 tomorrow. All right, we're going to practice, but then we're going to get to a point where I can only show you so much, right? You're just going to have to start working with the questions until you get to it. Like there's only, I can tell you my strategies, but ultimately you're going to have to just start struggling with some of these questions. So we're going to spend a couple of days doing it together, and then a couple of days where you'll be working on it on your own.